Remember, remember the 5th of November of gunpowder, treason, and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. What's up, everybody? This is the Super Cinephile wishing you a happy Guy Fawkes Day. So this week, in current events, we have some pretty interesting news. One of those things would be the fact that MGM, one of the major production companies out there, has filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This is pretty, I guess, devastating news for a lot of different franchises because, some of our favorite films come from MGM. Mine in particular, one of mine in particular, is the Bond series. And that's on hiatus till all this stuff gets sorted out, which they say will probably take about 30 days to figure all out. Spyglass Entertainment is a subsidiary of MGM, and it was originally supposed to get up to like 5% of the liquidation or the assets, 5% of the company essentially. But they're kind of getting muscled out probably because they're not very profitable. In fact, part of the deal is they're going to get rid of 15 films from their catalog. I'm not sure if that's all of the Spyglass catalog or if that's just part of it. Among those films that they're getting rid of is Seabiscuit and The Sixth Sense. And most of this is being kind of headed by probably the MGM's biggest investor. His name's Carl Icahn. I think it's pronounced Icahn. It could be Icahn or something like that. But he's a major player in this whole entire thing, and he's trying to help MGM get the best deal out of it. But also he's an investor with another company, but you might know by the name of Lionsgate. Which he's actually trying. I think in his opinion, the best case scenario for MGM would be a merger with MGM and Lionsgate. It's also in the news. It's just kind of interesting stuff, and it's just kind of showing the prosperity of China altogether. But the Hong Kong market, which some believed was a long time struggling or even dead, is actually finding a resurgence. They're finding a lot of productions happening, and people are supporting them locally. People are supporting local films in Hong Kong. There's a thing that they just created back in 2007 called the Hong Kong Film Development Fund. And I guess it's government subsidized, and it basically helps local filmmakers kind of get their films out there. So far, it's given out about $43 million to different production companies, actually 14 different companies, or 14 different productions. Hong Kong is actually starting to bring back its former glory. In fact, we can probably expect it to exceed that because they're then being able to move into the emerging market that's in mainland China. That's one big, huge market that's ready to be tapped into. China likes to support their own, so that's a great footing for a lot of Hong Kong filmmakers. Okay, so now it's time for the game of the week. First of all, I want to be able to, I guess, apologize for not following up with my other games of the week, or at least the first one I introduced, which is where I gave you guys the assignment to be able to link Charlton Heston with Christopher Walken. I told you could do it in one, but I also figured out how to do it in an actually very short way as well. The first one that I was thinking of was, if you've seen Wayne's World 2 and you recalled it, you would know that there's a cameo with Charlton Heston in it. And also, the main villain in Wayne's World 2 is a man played by Christopher Walken. However, if you wanted to do it in more traditional way, or I guess if you weren't aware that Wayne's World 2 had that connection, you could then go ahead and pick it up from another film. What I started out with was actually kind of non-conventional, but I count documentaries. So anyway, I know that Charlton Heston was in Bowling for Columbine with Michael Moore. So Michael Moore was also, you might not know this, but he was a fiction film director before he was a documentarian. So anyway, he's made some fiction films. One of those would be Canadian Bacon. And in Canadian Bacon, he stars in it. He has like his own cameo in that film, where he's a crazy American trying to get people riled up about opposing Canada. And also in that film is Rita Perlman. Rita Perlman also stars with Danny DeVito in Matilda, and Danny DeVito also stars in a film called Batman Returns with Christopher Walken. As far as following up on last week's game, Saw 3D made about $22.5 million. I said they're going to make 35.5 million, so I'm about 13 million off. However, I did pretty good on the next one. I said that Paranormal Activity was going to make around 18 million, and they made about 16 million. Lastly, and I told you this before, by the time I finally got it made, but I already made my choice. I said that it was going to be Jackass 3D, but instead it was Red, and I kind of got almost just right on the dot with that one with 10 million. I got the last two numbers right, I got the middle movie right, and the top movie right. So in a way, I guess it kind of evens out. I got some things that I can brag about, some things I need to work on. So we'll just wait until we play this game again in a few weeks. This week, the game I want to introduce is just kind of a simple game. It's just one of these average waste your time, basically spouting off your random trivia knowledge that you have. One of these that I like to play is just kind of pick a franchise, pick just any series that you really like, and kind of just figure, see if someone else can kind of give you facts about it, or you can ask them a question about it and see if they happen to know it. So like one example would be like name all 5 Bond actors who played James Bond in the Bond franchise. Yeah, so you'd start off with saying, okay, we have Sean Connery, we have George Lazenby, Roger Moore. Then there's Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig. I believe there's only been 6 so far, but I hear, just on the side, I hear that they're actually looking for a younger Bond now, because they're looking for someone who's more around the age of 29, something like that. So I don't know, I might be able to fill that role. I'm not quite that age yet, but I can play an older role. What do you guys think? Anyway, so the one I want to ask you guys is, and you can't, again, this is one of these games you have to know from your trivia knowledge inside your head, because you're not true cinephiles if you have to look it up. I want you to be able to tell me what each of the Star Wars releases are, which is pretty easy. I mean, if anybody's any kind of a film fan, they should be able to name at least all 6 Star Wars movies. So in the comments below, go ahead and write down in chronological order the first Star Wars film made and what year it was released, and just write down every other film that has followed it, just right up to the last film that's been made. Now, I'm not looking for like alternative stuff or anything like that. Like, I'm just looking for the 6 canonical films that made by George Lucas. I know there's been plenty of other spin-offs. There's cartoons. There's the Star Wars Christmas, which I'm told is quite horrendous. I'm not looking for any of that kind of stuff. I just want, like I said before, the 6 films that are there in chronological order and the years that they were released. This is a really interesting film. Watching it the second time around, there was a lot of things I picked up on that I never picked up on before. I don't know if I just wasn't mature enough to gather a lot of the themes and things that were being announced or that were being played on there. But I really enjoyed this film. One of the things that was really fun to watch was some of the Wachowski elements in it. I'd always been under the impression that the Wachowski brothers directed this film, but they actually were just one of the producers with Joel Silver. So the director is James McTeague. And what I thought was really interesting is how it was made by James McTeague, but yet a lot of Wachowski elements made it into it. You saw a lot of parallels to, and almost the same kind of action stuff as you would have found in The Matrix. I don't know if it's because Yen Wo-ping was involved in some of the fighting, even though there wasn't a whole lot of fighting in this film, or if the Wachowskis brought with them a lot of the crew they would have normally had. One explanation might be the fact that they might have brought in John Gato, who's kind of their special effects supervisor, and so they have a lot of, kind of the similar flair of special effects creativity behind some of the action sequences and different things like that. Obviously, one of the things that I noticed was clearly from the Matrix films was when V throws one of his knives and hits a guy in the forehead and he falls backward. So yeah, I thought it was really cool how they brought in a lot of their unique look into it, and it's definitely kind of, even though it was a James McTeague film, it was very much a Wachowski brothers look and feel. One of the things that I really wanted to watch this film for is because since I had watched it the first time, I've actually kind of changed my political affiliations or kind of my political philosophies to more of a libertarian approach. And to the libertarians, the V for Vendetta is just one of the canonical films that they love and watch and cite, and to them it has all the elements that they love to see in a film that promotes liberty and freedom. It's about a tyrannical government who is basically telling everyone what to do, controlling everyone's lives, and then there's a man, V, who stands up and essentially takes on the government and fights for freedom and tries to liberate the people. Those people not only he doesn't try to liberate them of his own accord. He tries to get the people themselves to take a stand and to liberate themselves, which is very much a libertarian philosophy. There's a couple lines in there that, I know as a libertarian now that, people, it just makes a whole lot of sense, and it's actually very inspirational. One of those lines is that ideas are bulletproof. Many times people try to get us to think and say what they want us to say because they can force us by the barrel of a gun to say and think certain things. But an idea cannot be killed. You can kill people for thinking the idea or expressing the idea, but the idea itself cannot be killed. And so ideas are bulletproof, and that's mainly how V takes on this government. Is he basically tries to help incite the people by helping restore ideas of freedom and liberty. And then the other line I really like in there was when V's talking to Evie, and he says, people should not be afraid of the government. The government should be afraid of the people. The government should be in fear and loathing of the people. There's no reason why people should have to feel like they get everything they get comes from the government when they themselves are the ones that make up the government. And I'm not going to try to get too political in the future. I just thought that was interesting, and I kind of really enjoyed those parts of the film. Some other things that I really liked was the use of color in the film. And obviously, whenever we have one of these kind of futuristic, kind of drab situations, it's almost sort of expressionistic in a way. Life is not as colorful or beautiful as we would hope it would be. There's too much restriction. There's a lack of freedom there. There's miserable people because they're not allowed to express their ideas freely. They have to live in fear of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing or not being able to live their lives the way they want to. And so we see very, dull colors for the most part. It's almost black and white. But what we really see is that they use the color red very powerfully in this film. It's used for the flag of the government that is ruling over the people. It just has a powerful, ominous presence wherever you see it. There are people like the little girl who's dressed in the V cape and mask, who is spray painting a V onto a poster of a government propaganda poster, and that always has a really interesting image. But we also see it used with V as well, with the roses that V uses in order to to put with his victims. That kind of is his calling card for his work. We see the color red used powerfully there. I thought overall this film was very entertaining, powerful, and inspiring. And if you haven't seen it yet, and you're just getting into this vlog, I'd recommend you go back and watch it. Okay, so this week's film is going to be a really fun one. It's another one that I bought, but I haven't had the chance to watch yet. And and I know I told you I'm not going to get too political, but I don't know how it worked out this way. But I actually did some research after I had watched V for Vendetta and already planned this film, and found out that it's actually kind of a little bit anti-government as well. But the film we're going to watch is Changeling. It's a Clint Eastwood film, which would actually kind of explain a little bit of the whole entire anti-government sentiment that you would find in this film. Clint Eastwood is kind of a rogue himself, and generally takes the position of, leave me alone and I'll leave you alone kind of a thing. That might have something to do with the fact as to why, this film has anti-government sentiments. But let me set it up for you so you're not kind of like, well, what's he talking about? I tend to do that sometimes, and I apologize. So what I'm talking about is it's a film about a woman whose son is kidnapped or goes missing, and she asks the police to help her, and they're working on it. Months later, a boy claims to be her son in Illinois. They reunite her, but she thinks to herself, this isn't my son. She's a mother. She would know if that's her son or not. The police automatically think that she's a liar, or that she doesn't know what she's talking about, because she doesn't want to take the little boy back who claims to be her son. And so she begins to try to uncover what might have happened, but she's being thwarted by a lot of people in power who want to keep her in the dark about what possibly could have happened to her son. And so this is kind of the setup for this film. It stars Angelina Jolie, who is actually nominated for an Oscar for this role. And there's also another Oscar nomination for art direction and another one for cinematography. So there should be some really good artistic elements going on here. And it also stars John Malkovich. He's going to be playing a part as a reverend. That is this week in the Super Cinephile vlog. And We hope that you will join us next week and get your friends to subscribe. And if you're watching this, most likely I've looked at my subscriptions. You're probably not subscribed either. So check it out, and hope that you subscribe and get some of your friends to subscribe and become a part of our film club. And we'll see you next week when we talk about Changeling.